Okay, today is St. Patrick's Day, Monday,
17th.
March 17th. Today is the Policy Advisory Committee. We'll start with attendance. We'll go around the room and say who's here. Andrew?
Andrew Hennies, attorney for the committee.
Rob Mezzanotte, assistant superintendent, off camera for now.
Kenny Duba, superintendent.
Erin Darrell, school committee chair.
Jennifer Lima, school committee member. We do have citizens' comments today. I don't have the sheet, but whoever signed up first can go up.
Super.
Just state your name for the record, please.
Sean Taylor, and I'm just here to comment on item 4, Group AC, the JCAR establishing attendance boundaries. Jen, I actually sent you some emails and had some correspondence with you. I'm sorry that was confusing. I said the wrong name of the policy. I just wanted to say, first off, I'm very much in favor of this. I like what you guys are doing. I think it increases transparency. And I think it would also help get you guys buy-in on any actions you take with the community. So first, start on the positive there. A couple of quick ideas just to float you guys' way. The school committee recommendation sessions sound great. By only requiring one, though, all our families are busy, just like yours. If we could move that to 2, it might give people chance to get input in when they feel that it's still a beginning of the process rather than at the point of the decision. The other suggestion I'd have is if we made a requirement prior to these sessions to get data out 24 hours in advance, you might get more comments by email in advance that could allow you to take into account any additional data points or things like that. I did put a note, school committee, maybe make sure there's a public comment section on that. I know you guys always do. I'm not sure that's actually required or not. Maybe I'm off base there. And then the last thing, I would like to request that you guys consider making any subcommittee involved in this, getting them like a Dropbox email kind of idea. Like if the public has a proposal or scenarios to put forward for consideration by the subcommittee, a way for them to easily submit it. Just like when I email the whole school committee, you guys all get your email blown up by me. And that's all I have. Just some suggestions. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Hello, Mike Portal. How you doing? So yeah, I'm kind of here to talk about the same thing, that same policy. Again, I do like the policy. I do think it definitely establishes more than the initial readout of it. Had that same kind of comment that Sean did, just to reiterate that like the one is kind of short. I don't know if there's anything in there about, because at least the way I read it, maybe I read it and misinterpreted it, but it almost seems like you can present it and then vote on that same day that it's presented. I may have read that incorrectly, but I'm not great at the legalese of these documents, so sorry if I read that wrong.
I just want to, you finish and then I'll.
Oh no, you can go. I'm not going to talk long.
You get your, because I think you all are talking about not the policy that's on our agenda tonight, but the policy that actually we had the first read on at the school committee level, the revision of the attendance boundary, because the one, right, and that's JCAA, which is the redistricting policy. I just want to make sure we're talking about the same.
What are all those letters? There's a lot of letters.
It's a great question. I had the same question when I got on the school committee. It actually comes from a national school board association. They have like these classifications and these letters that go along with it, and so it's actually a national thing. So
nothing we could do to make that simpler.
We have some autonomy over it, but that's why it exists like that.
Okay.
Yes, and we have been trying to make things simpler, have fewer, and things like that as we work them through. So we don't disagree with that.
Okay. All right.
So the ones on our agenda this evening we're actually trying to consolidate the ones on our agenda this evening. But I think the one that you both are referring to is the one that delineates the process that the committee would go through when we're actually doing the redistricting.
And that's okay, that we can still take your comments on that.
Yeah, we can take your comments on it, but that policy is not up for discussion this evening. It's on the school committee agenda for tomorrow. So you're welcome to come, to that meeting.
We're happy to convey to them.
Yeah, and and that will be up, and we will be discussing it. And there were changes to that policy made after the revision. So come
Okay.
tomorrow. We can't talk about it tonight because it's not on the agenda, but
That's
there will
perfect.
be lots of discussion about it
All
tomorrow.
right, perfect. Yeah, because I think I had also emailed
Yeah.
with you, and I think you
Yep.
sent me one yesterday. So I
Yes.
don't know if that's the revised policy.
It is the revised
Okay.
policy, yes.
You also don't have, like, we heard what you said
Yes,
too, so we,
yes.
Oh,
I
yeah,
noted
no-
your thing, so you
Yes,
don't have to
yes.
come and reiterate it, we're
Yes.
happy to reiterate it.
Well,
We'll be there anyway. These are so fun.
Yes.
but-
Anything else, Mike?
No, but that's it. Thank you so much.
Awesome, thank you.
I just have one quick question. If you guys aren't gonna talk about that policy, would it be against the rules for us to leave?
No, you do not have
Sorry.
to say. No.
Now, just to clarify, we are talking about other ones, that are friends to that policy, for lack of a better word, so attendance boundaries, assignment of students to schools, establishing attendance boundaries, admission of resident students, and then non-resident students. So you are still very welcome to leave, but we are talking about ones that have to
Attendance
do
policy.
with that.
Just
concept.
not that one.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for the
Great, thank you.
clarification.
And you can sneak out the door whenever you want to. We will not.
Yeah.
be
There's no
offended.
rules about
Yes.
how long you have to stay.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Only how long you guys have to stay.
That's just
Yes.
us.
Yes.
We have to stay, but you don't.
I'll get.
In
thank you.
theory, we all have free will, but, okay. We choose to stay. Do you wanna start with JCAC?
I just, the minutes, can I get a motion? Did
Oh,
everybody
sorry.
a chance to look at the ones?
Yes.
Okay, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Okay, second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, do you wanna, anybody have a preference? Do you wanna just go in order? Does it make sense to start with one or the other? The first three kind of go together, and then the last two kind of go together.
Just go in order.
Okay, so I have consolidated the first three.
Is that the
in
JCA document?
Yeah, it's the one that starts with JC.
It had lots of colors.
It is the one with the colors, okay. So this combines and replaces our current policy JCA, which is the assignment of students of schools to attendance, JCAR, establishing school attendance boundary lines, and JCAC, deviation from attendance boundary. So I tried to compress these all into one policy. And I highlighted the text that came from each policy just
Yeah, that's very helpful, thank you.
for clarification purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Rob, I saw that you were in here this weekend. That was very helpful. Thank you.
Yep.
So I thought it might make sense to kind of go through the questions that you had to address those.
Sure.
So, on page one of the questions one of the statements is, in terms of transfers from like the home assigned school to another school, one of the scenarios is for instructional reasons. Like if the district believes that the student can be better served due to educational programming at a school that is not their home school, the district can initiate the transfer. And Rob's question was, what if the family disagrees with that and they do not want to move? Is that something that the parent or family could appeal, or is that something where, like, if the district is saying no, like, due to the educational programming, like, you need to be in school B instead of school A, like, what would the process be there?
Are you on page 2?
Yeah, it's page 2.
Page 2.
It was just, for me, trying to get clarification over, like, what type of scenario are we talking about in a situation like this? And maybe it could be a few different scenarios, but I'm just trying to get a sense of, when we say instructional suitability, and that the school department is initiating the transfer, it sounds like to me that the school department, right, is determining that there's a better place for a particular child. Again, I'm just kind of trying to think of what scenario might bring that up.
Yep.
And if they, what options a family might have to engage
Like,
with that
is it
process.
optional or, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Mhm.
you know?
Sometimes it's not, and I'm wondering, and we can talk with it, instead of it being instructional suitability, be instructional programming, because most of the transfers that are initiated by us, or we are part of that conversation with the family, is because of instructional programming.
Okay.
Special education programs that are district programs that are at certain schools, or sometimes it might be, there have been a few instances that I'm aware of that is not specific to a special education program, but because of a educational need of a student or social emotional need, that they have to go to a different school. And typically, those reasons that are occurring are part of a conversation that's happening between the family and the school.
So-
They're started there. It's not us going directly to them where, you know, we need to move your child. It's stemming from a conversation
And I
from
would
the
ima-
family with
I would
school staff.
imagine in many of these cases, if not most of these cases,
Mutually
this would be
agreeable.
done through a
Yes.
mutually agreeable, and
Yeah.
probably, in probably in many
IEP.
cases through an IEPT
Yeah.
process.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the question is, your question is, well, sir, like, it's a good question, because say the parents and they meet with the team says, hey, we really think that they should be at X school instead of Y school because we have this program. And then, or because like we have, whatever reason, if they then say like, we don't, for lack of a better word, like, we don't care that it's better for them instructionally, we want them to stay at the school that all their neighborhood friends are at, what happens?
Yeah.
Like how, like, they could stay at the school, right?
If it's IEP or 504
Yeah.
related, it would go to due process or it would go to the Rhode Island Department of Ed. If
Yeah.
it was not either one of those, I think the appeal would follow sort of the normal course
Yeah.
to Dr. Duva and then to the school committee.
I guess maybe
Yeah.
my question's more around the wording, like, is suitability the best word for it? Because that almost sounds like, I don't know, it just sounds a little broad in
Preference-y
terms of.
versus-
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Like I think of, when I'm reading this and hearing it, I'm thinking of, I would,
Just say
very
program.
unique circumstances that have to do with the educational needs of a student.
Yeah, so we say program up above, I think if you just change that word instructional suitability to instructional programs.
Instructional program, okay. And then in the paragraph,
It says it like maybe 4 or 5 sentences.
so a more sort of the better meets their input or in other reasons, and okay, students reassigned to instructional programming. Okay. Okay, does that take care of that?
Yeah, I don't know if we want to, and maybe it isn't necessary, but Andrew, maybe you could, should there be like, when it says at the discretion of the superintendent or their designee? Again, I don't know if like, it should be including IEP team or a 504 team,
Well-
something along those lines, because I just feel like a lot of that's gonna go through that process.
So when I read that, I actually didn't think it applied to 504 or IEP, because that would not be at the discretion of the superintendent. That would
Right.
be at the discretion of the 504 team or the IEP team.
Right.
So I was assuming, sort of what Dr. Duva had said, is this would be such a situation that might arise outside that context. You know, based on the fact that there's that confusion, I mean, you could always put a footnote, this does not apply to, you know, placements made during the IEP or 504 process.
Yeah,
Because it really wouldn't, that wouldn't be Dr. Duva's discretion, that would
Right.
be the team's discretion, and then you would go from there.
Do we need to address that within here, or is that a completely separate
See,
thing?
I think that's completely separate, I don't see that, I mean, that's its own
That's a
entity,
legal
that's,
process.
right, that's a legal process,
Okay.
you know, IEP team decides the services,
Mhm.
IEP team decides the
So this
location of
does
the
not
programming.
apply to placements?
No, I don't think we have to, I think it's the first sentence that needs to be changed.
Okay,
Like, I don't think I don't know if you need at the discretion of the superintendent or their designee, you might just go right into it and say, students may be reassigned to schools, like, you know what I mean, like, I think that's the part of the problem, is that,
so just
yeah, like, I'm
this-
just having a hard time imagining
Yeah.
like a scenario where it not being a specialized situation where a superintendent's making a decision about instructional placement of a child. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just
I just have a hard
time
start with
figuring out
students
when
and
that would
get
happen,
rid of
you
know?
superintendent? Like, just students may be reassigned to a school, other than that, blah, blah, blah?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
could it be, would behavior fall into 504?
It depends, it could,
Depends,
I mean,
right?
the only thing I could
It
think
could
of.
maybe, I'm just trying, there's always,
When
there's
you
got-
say, when you say that, what do you mean though?
like, I'm just trying to think of things that might be outside of an IEP or 504 that might make the superintendent or their designee think that moving a student from school X to school Y would be beneficial.
I mean, you could have a student that requires a smaller class setting,
Yeah.
although not necessarily a, you know, a specialized program. That would typically come through a 504, but I
Yeah.
guess it wouldn't necessarily have to if everyone agreed, you know, they you know,
Yeah.
don't necessarily
Yeah.
have a 504, but they do much better in a smaller school setting, and you know, everybody agrees and you make that switch. I could see that happening. I would think that would be the rarity, though, would be
So-
my guess.
I would think so too, and I would also think that's why, like, that's what kind of triggered the question for me, is like, if there were some scenario we're talking about here hypothetically, where, you know, a superintendent feels like a student would just be better off placed in a different setting, for whatever that reason might be, and the parent happened to disagree with that, or there happened to be some kind of, you know, lack of, agreement there, like,
Then I would think school committee, appeal to the school committee in the
Yeah.
ordinary course, as long as it's not 504 or IEP related.
right, would that have to be spelled out here, or is that just understood?
I mean, I don't think it has to be spelled out. I mean, you have the general law that says the parent can appeal any decision
Okay.
of, you know,
There actually isn't anything in here anywhere about the appeal process period, so probably we should add something.
Yeah. Or at least reference to where that information is. When it says in the last sentence, students reassigned due to instructional programming are entitled to transportation services provided by the school district according to established transportation policies and procedures. Then it goes on to say, unless specified otherwise, or reassignment is considered optional by staff but recommended to better meet the instructional, including social and emotional needs of the student. What, like, I feel like that got weird there, because they're basically saying, like, we'll give you transportation if it's our idea, but like, if it's kind of optional, like, you have to transport your student, is how I'm reading
that's
that.
what it says.
Yeah,
That-
that to me sounds like it then falls under the voluntary
Yeah,
transfer.
yep,
So we should probably take that part out.
I think so.
I was also thinking, like, I wonder if this is alluding to, like, not just in district instructional programs.
Like out of district, you mean?
Yeah,
I didn't
you know what I
read-
mean?
I didn't read it that way, cause
I
I'm a
know.
district,
I don't
yeah,
think so.
yeah.
This is, because this policy is
Which one did this one come
For-
from?
If it's not colored, it came from like other policies in other districts.
Yeah, this one is new
Yeah.
language, we didn't have this in before.
Yeah.
okay.
So that's what I was thinking, like, do we wanna,
I
like,
think-
is this,
and
do
this,
we need
I
to
would say-
specifically say,
This policy is strictly for our schools in district.
Yeah.
This is not
Yeah.
regarding out of district,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
out of district would again be an IEP team decision.
And within the context of this, I think it's pretty clearly within district, is the way I'm reading it.
oh yeah, no, I was just making sure.
Yeah,
I do think that last sentence is garbage though.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna end it at established transportation policies and procedures.
Yeah. Cause
Yeah.
that's not us, like, this is under the header of NKSD initiated transfers.
Okay.
so, again, I'm kind of imagining that this is a scenario where it's gonna, in very all likelihood, start at the building level, and it might be a conversation to say like, hey, this might not be the best environment, you know, and a conversation between family and school, that maybe this isn't the best environment, or maybe there's some, another location would be a better place. And then, again, you would hope that that would be an agreement that would be met,
Yep.
you know? And then ultimately, it would be the superintendent to,
Sign off on it. Yep.
exactly,
Does
exactly.
it go up to you, Ken, always? Like if they,
For
Would
transfer?
imagine.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I would, yeah.
Alright, and then, yeah, they can just follow the same appeal process to Andrew's point, so I don't think we
I'm
need
gonna
to
add
spell
something
that
down at the bottom so
particular
we
piece,
don't
yeah,
forget about appeals.
yep.
Okay, so we're still on our initiated transfer, so we just did like instructional programming.
Mhm.
Now we're at relieving overcrowding.
I didn't see any issue with this.
Okay, so that looked okay to you, Rob?
Yeah.
In that one, and I'm not losing track, but like, for this whole thing, is there something about timeline? You know what I mean, like as far as when that would happen?
There
Wouldn't that be
is
the
a,
other policy though?
Yeah, maybe that's where I'm,
there is
What's
a
the one that's-
For the
timeline
voluntary
in here for
transfers.
voluntary transfers, but not for NKSD initiated
Yeah.
transfers, so we should put something in
but we
there
have
for that.
something for,
That's just for redistricting, but this falls in under that, but only for like big
yeah,
programs, so we
yeah,
should
not
put
like 2 or
something
3
in
kids,
here.
yeah, I feel like we should
Yeah.
mirror that language,
Yeah.
because we, We just wrote it and it
Yeah.
applies to this too, I think.
So, um, so that would be, can I look that up now, or can I not talk about that, Andrew, because it's not on?
Talking about including it into this policy,
Yeah.
though? That you can do.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the same as like Googling something.
I'm Googling myself, okay. So that would be, language-wise, we are saying that,
I had a question about that last sentence on page 2. So it says, if a student chooses to remain at the reassigned school after such time that NKSD deems it unnecessary, an application for voluntary transfer needs to be submitted per below, which is fine. What I was curious about though is, do we want to, like above, we talk about how we'll transport students at that point, but like, do we need to be clear that like,
transportation's on you at that point?
yeah. Like I know it's lower,
Yeah, we should say it there too.
but yeah, like just cause we just said it.
Where are you on page 2?
I'm on the very bottom of page 2, that last sentence, it might not be here with you.
But doesn't just the use of the phrase voluntary transfer sort of,
Yeah.
that sort of directly implies
Yeah.
that their transportation would be,
I think it's probably better to spell it out, because if you were like displaced and we've been providing you transportation, I think we wanna be abundantly clear
Okay.
that if we are now saying like,
You can go back to
you
your
need
own
to go back
school.
to your home school and you are choosing to stay, you're on your own at that point.
I would just add a sentence. You're both right, but like I think just one sentence there, just because it just right above it says we will transport.
Right.
so
Okay.
so we can say
Are
something.
you adding
like-
it, Jen, or?
No, right now I'm dropping in something about, relieving over
In such
crowding.
In such case, as with all voluntary transfers, transportation would be provided by the family?
Yep. Where, I'm not, for the policy that's with school committee right now on redistricting, where is it in the drive, cause I'm not finding it?
It's probably not,
It's in the
if there's another
pending school
folder.
committee approval.
Under what, I only have 3 folders, inclement weather, transportation, or safe schools, that's showing.
Oh, then maybe it's still in this one under the JCAA, let me look. Policies in process, there's a folder within policies in process that's called JCAA. It's in there. And it's the one that says JCAA revised, it was last modified yesterday.
What, so, in the folder policies and process, then what folder am I going in?
There's a folder within that folder called JCAA.
Okay, I don't have that.
What are you looking for? Cause I think Jen was gonna copy
That's the
and paste.
document that I,
Yeah, well, I was just trying to find it, now that I can't find it, that's what I was asking,
Yeah.
because it's
Did I
not.
not share it with anybody?
Unless it's
Hold on,
under-
maybe it's this
No,
one.
because
No,
I-
it's, hold on, it's under attendance boundaries, you gotta go to attendance boundaries.
Yeah, it's under attendance boundaries.
And it's there.
Do you see it now?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, cause I moved it because that one's pending, like it's not in process anymore.
that's the one I updated yesterday, Jen, I'm not sure if that was the right.
No,
one.
that was good, because that way I can talk to it tomorrow, like I can talk to your comments while we're,
At the meeting.
yeah.
On page 3 at the top, so we go into like when decisions are made regarding involuntary transferring due to overcrowding. It outlines like students outside their regular school assignment, who require a certain educational program or service, they would get placed first. then incoming new students with siblings currently attending the school, then incoming new students enrolled, with no siblings, and then students enrolled by voluntary transfer, like that's the order.
Yeah.
And then the line that I have a question on is, in the case more than one student fall into the same category listed above, preference is given based on registration / enrollment date and time. More than one student, like if it's like if there's not enough room, like we need to add it's, do you know what I mean? Hold on, let me find different words. I feel like it needs to be more clear of in the case where there's 4 spots and we have 6 students, and then we get to category 2 and that it will be done based on when you submit the form. I just feel like there's something missing in that
Do
description.
you think we can better explain it?
Yeah, in the case of more students.
Before it says something like each thing will be prioritized within the same,
It kind of speaks to a first come, first serve, right? Sort of
Yeah.
thing. That's
it
kinda,
is, right,
What it's trying to say is within category 2, if there are 5 families that all have a student currently in that school, and
we only have 3
we only
spots.
have 3 spots, it'll be by the date and time of when they filled out the form.
Mhm.
But I don't know if that is clear enough. I'm
Priority is given with each category
based on,
based on.
yeah, that's better.
Is that good?
Yeah, I think
Prior
that
is
makes
given
more
within
sense.
each category.
Yeah, I think that makes more sense. Also, just to clarify, this process is supposed to happen in the spring. And so do we need to change the word currently to a different word, because we're really talking about, we're not talking about rising 6th graders for the elementary school, for example. And so if your kid was currently in 5th grade, does your kindergartner get placed?
You lost me. Where are we?
Sorry.
And number 3?
Yeah, no, number 2, where it says new and incoming students with siblings currently attending the school. So my kid's in 5th grade,
Headed
You
out.
say attending
Yeah.
the school.
So
for
attending
the
school for
registration.
future.
Yeah.
Okay.
you know what I mean? I get, the intent of it is that your 5th grader and your kindergartner get to go on the same
will be
bus.
in
It's
the
not
school.
that your middle schooler, grandfathered in your kindergartner. So I feel like we
Yeah,
should
yeah.
change that word currently.
So
So
should we-
you're saying if you have a 5th grade student and your kindergarten will be rolling in, really that doesn't count because your 5th grader will not be in the school.
Yeah.
It's for the same year.
But because we do it in the spring,
Yes,
Because it's a
yes.
future
currently
year.
means,
Yes.
yeah, so it would be the following
So in the
academic year.
so
Yeah.
incoming / new students with siblings attending the school in the following year.
Yeah. Or
Or
in
in
their
the-
entry
or
year,
for the
in their
year that
entry
they're
year.
registered.
Yeah, just something. The word currently is the word I want.
Siblings
not there.
attending the school
'Cause I feel like
the
legally we
year.
would-
That you
No,
are
that's
registered.
exactly
Attending the
what
school
we'll do.
in the year.
Of registration.
registration.
Because you could be doing it in, I don't know, let's say October, right? I have a child that was at a charter school. I wanted that child to now go to this public school. If I register in September or October,
In the applicable year?
in the
Yes.
same,
How about that?
Lawyer. What lawyery word should we use?
In the registration, in
It's
the
not necessarily the
I wouldn't say
registration,
registration,
right?
yeah.
registering year,
In the enrolling year?
in the enrollment year,
Enrollment year?
in the year of attendance.
in the year,
Enrollment would cover it, right? Because
yes,
yeah, then there's gotta be a mix then at the school,
Yeah.
even if it's for a short period of
Yeah.
time. So if you brought someone from a charter school in April, the siblings would be together, even if it's a 5th grader for a short
Yeah.
period of time.
okay, enrollment year.
Yeah, I think enrollment year covers it.
Yeah,
Better than current.
okay. And then, so the timing that we talked about in terms of notification in the other policy is that affected families who are going to be displaced need to be notified of any changes by early August. So
Yeah.
that's the timeline proposed in the other policy.
Right, just really quick,
Yeah.
would that same language we just talked about apply to number 3 there too, though? With the currently thing?
No, because that is new students coming in who have no siblings we need to change that with no siblings in the.
Attending the school in the enrolling
Yeah, no
enrollment year.
siblings,
Yeah.
Attending school.
We better not be talking about this policy still.
No, it's my time to do my PT exercises in the enrollment year. So, notifications, how do we wanna say this? Up above, we say when decisions must be made regarding involuntary students, preference should be given. And then we say, notification, affected families.
Why is it not the exact same language? Well, I mean, other than the,
I mean, we could put it above.
I think the legal definition of early August is. I'm not joking.
I like it, gives you a little
August 8th,
flexibility.
does that count?
Before the 15th would be what I would say. Peanut Gallery, what do you think early August is?
So I was thinking first week.
First week.
You think it's the first week? I think it's the first 2 weeks.
I think early is by the 10th. To me, that's what I think early is.
Well,
Second and
perhaps
third
we should be.
We have 4 different definitions.
I
No, I'm just saying, like, I don't like, when I write policies, I
I
don't
know.
like wishy stuff. Like, I know it gives you flexibility, which is
First week in
important, but
August.
I would go with the first week in August.
First week, okay.
I'm just gonna give you 2 weeks for the record.
By contract too, the teacher's contract, we have to have them notified if we're moving them and.
Yeah, okay,
so
valid.
it's to-
Yeah. I just don't wanna have a dispute where the family's like, you didn't notify us in early August. But like, again, like the definition of that is in the room.
Consult lawyer, what early means.
There's gotta be a
Before
legal
the
thing.
15th, I think 15th's the middle,
What did we just pick? By the
by the
first week.
end of
By
the
the end of
first
the
week.
first
Technically, the 15th is before,
That's what I would say, 14th, right? Before the.
Who said
if you
10
get to the
days?
middle, it's not early anymore. I'm-
The
31
internet
days in
agrees with you.
August.
I'm making that up.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
just shooting from the hip.
I mean, it's the internet, I didn't like cross-check what the reference is, but at quick Google, it says the 10 days is early.
30 days, so 10 early, 10 middle,
Yeah.
10 late.
So that, okay, so.
Well, I just lost it.
Do we need to add? What are you trying to do right now?
Just trying to make this make sense.
When we type parent and guardian, do we do a slash?
Yes.
I do.
I just edited it to that first sentence, Jen. I know you're not there right now, but.
Yeah, I'm not in like formatting mode yet.
No, it just wasn't there. It was a typo. No, it was, the word guardian wasn't there at all.
Oh, it was.
So I just
okay.
added it.
Yeah, I'm still, okay. So this is how I changed it. Annually, the superintendent or designee shall review grade level capacity, make necessary adjustments to ensure contractual class sizes and resource allocation for the upcoming year. That's from the other policy. As a result of the review, at the discretion of the superintendent, as a result of this review, At the discretion, as a result of this review, students may, I'm gonna take that out because we already have it in there. At the discretion, as a result of this review, students may be reassigned to a school other than their regular school of assignment if the regular school of assignment or a particular grade level at an elementary school of assignment is overcrowded. In such situations, the student may be assigned to another school in which suitable capacity exists with transportation provided by the school district. Effort will be made to reassign these students to the closest possible school with suitable capacity and to return the student to their regular school of assignment at the start of the next school year in which the overcrowding situation no longer exists. The student chooses to remain at the reassigned school after such time that the NKSD deems it unnecessary. An application for voluntary transfer needs to be submitted per the below. In such cases, as with all voluntary transfers, transportation will be provided by the family. Affected families and the school committee will be notified of any changes by the end of the first week of August, when decisions must be made regarding involuntary transferring students to overcrowding. That's one very long run sentence, I need to tighten that up. When this decision must be made, preference for assignment at any individual school is given to, blah, 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 the ones we went through, and that's the end of that, like, overcrowding. Does that sound right?
Point of clarification, yes, great job. Why are we just saying elementary school? Like, we've done this at middle schools before.
Great point.
My brother I remember my brother got redistricted.
Yep. At a school, we'll take that out, at a school.
Yeah, just like, I
Yep.
just feel like it applies to middle school if we
Yep.
ever had to do that,
Yep.
and so.
Do we say just elementary anywhere other
I'll
else?
Google it.
I'll go up.
In one spot, it says elementary or middle school for voluntary transfer. On page 4, it just talks about elementary school. We aren't there yet though, so
Okay.
we can get there in a minute
Okay.
all together.
Alright, so that takes care of instructional programming and overcrowding. Now we're at voluntary transfers. So,
Yeah, I didn't-
hmm?
I didn't see anything here, but we can certainly,
I had some questions about the comments that Joanne
Joanne.
had made about the actual, like, logistical process of it. So if we can walk through those, just to make sure that we have this correct. She had made a comment about the applications and saying that, she said she's assuming that this will now be done solely within the superintendent's office, so I didn't know if that was like a shift, or if that's correct, or if that's,
hasn't it always been that way?
Yeah, so I'm not sure why she's.
Yeah. It's always been, superintendent's
Point
office.
of clarification for,
Yeah.
cause it
Somebody
doesn't
explain
actually
who Joanne
say
is.
in here where it's done, so does
So
that
we-
matter for
Riverside does all the
purposes of the policy?
Yeah, I know that.
The applicant,
I saw
process
Lisa Joanne on
by the
tape.
superintendent's
She's our
office in the following manner.
Chemistry person.
Should we say that?
So she's the registrant?
So Joanne does all the registrations in the district.
So why,
Like, cause it didn't say in here, like, where it was done, so I didn't know why.
I mean, this will now seems to indicate a shift, but that sounds administrative, so you do that with that comment. You know what I mean? Like, it's not in the policy, so.
Well, when you submit an application for a voluntary transfer, that application is submitted to the superintendent, correct?
But like, that's not listed here
Right,
anywhere,
right.
so.
But I'm saying from a
Well, but I'm
procedure.
No, I
also,
think
I'm
that
also
was-
looking at the date, so voluntary transfers actually come in earlier. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I just misread that, that's correct.
Yeah.
I read it as June 1st to June 30th.
Okay,
My
so that
mistake.
was her other question, right? So that was on official determinations on voluntary transfer requests will be provided to the parent guardian within 30 days of the date the request was received, except for kindergarten requests. And then she had a note that's saying, that would mean you're accepting requests for transfers before you even have all the registrations for students who live in the designated school areas. We already have requests in, and you would have to determine if they were accepted now,
Yeah,
March
that needs to
1st.
come out.
I don't
We
like that
can't,
either.
I don't
yeah,
think
we
30
can't,
days.
we cannot make any decisions until July, and that's what we've done over the past.
Okay, so what do we
I
need
know
to
that is
change that
past
to?
practice, that's what I did the past 2 summers that I've been here. I would say that, official determination will be provided after July 1st.
Well, I mean, if you're saying above for, we
What
don't
do you
even
say
know if
above?
we're doing involuntary transfers until the first week of August.
Actually, that's true, I would keep it the
Like,
same.
yeah, it's not-
Keep that, keep the,
Yeah.
keep the timeline
they're
the same
last
of
on your-
the involuntary and the voluntary, and that you
Second
will
week of August.
be notified by.
Mid, if you will.
Mid, there you go.
My audience didn't even laugh. That was just for you guys. No, okay.
By what? By the end of the first week of August?
No, I think it's the second week of August.
Second week of August, yeah.
Because
We're
I thought we
deciding,
said the first.
No.
because we're
No,
deciding.
we did
Oh,
the
it's by the
involuntary
second.
first.
Yeah, because they're above, like rank wise, and when we're doing the designations, like if we're moving, if the superintendent's moving people
Right.
around.
We'd have to do the involuntary transfers
I would
first
say,
based on.
I would say by the end of the second week in August.
Yeah, by the
Only
end.
because if it's by the first week in August for the
Yeah,
involuntary,
yeah.
we need another week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not like sequential though, like, you know what I mean, like it's not like you're
I mean,
waiting.
we'll be looking at it at the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
like, we
but
can
I do
go
think-
where, But
Like as far as the
A
numbers
little
go,
too slow, you
they
want.
need to be, they're not the exact same time.
And would this apply, because right now there's this says, except for kindergarten, would this apply to kindergarten also?
For a voluntary transfer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I just
Why
wanna,
wouldn't it?
so
Why
I'm
wouldn't
gonna delete this, it's a, like a, for all grades.
Mhm.
yeah, that'd be all grades would be that'd
Okay.
be K to 12.
Okay. So official determinations for kindergarten students that apply for a voluntary transfer will be, so I'm gonna take out that whole thing about kindergarten because it's basically every voluntary request for any grade will be by the second week
Yeah, I
of
would just take
August.
that all out.
Okay. So I'm just gonna put this out there because I know I've heard discussions about eliminating all voluntary transfers. For now, we're gonna leave this in here, and if for some reason there's a determination to remove voluntary transfers, we can come back and amend this after.
We can.
Yes.
And I think that's really just
Yep.
comments I've been saying, like we might not be able to do it.
Yep.
Right? I think that still, this policy still allows that
Yep.
because I'm reviewing them all and seeing which ones we can accept.
Yep.
We just might not be able to.
Yep.
Because if that's what's causing
Yeah, well, and we haven't
problems
gotten,
we're having.
we haven't gotten recommendations yet either, so like, I think to Jen's point, we leave it in, and then if the recommendation comes
I would.
from that committee to not even have a process, then we can amend this. But also,
Yeah,
to
I
your
just wanted
point,
to address
there
it.
could be 0 approved too, there could be 2 things, there could still be a process, but we're not able to say yes to any of them.
Mhm.
So, we can deal with that later, as things evolve.
So Rob, yeah, to your point, I pulled this piece out of somebody else's policy, and I had thought that too. I'm like, why?
Wait, where are we? What's happening?
B.
So I just asked about, it says here, voluntary transfer requests received between July 1, July 3rd will be denied but may be appealed per this policy. My simple question was, if it may be appealed, why does it automatically get denied?
My thought was like maybe whoever, I can't remember which district this was hoping like if they automatically appeal it, I mean, if they automatically deny it, maybe some won't get appealed. Like that was, that was my thought.
Something tells me that wouldn't happen
Sorry,
here.
I still am trying to find where you all are. What page are we on? 4?
Too bad, page 4, yeah, about midway, right about midway down the page. It's basically saying, like, if you are gonna put through a request for voluntary transfer, you have to do it by June 30th, right? And then if you do it after June 30th, you're gonna get an automatic denial.
But you may appeal.
You can appeal, right?
Which, my feeling is this,
Why-
hypothetically, if hypothetically that can be, if that can be accepted, let's not have to go through an appeal.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, we can take it out, I have no problem with that, I just,
Yeah, I'm with Rob on it. I get why a district, especially like a really big one, would do that, is basically saying like, if you apply late, you're automatically denied, and then you can go to the school committee and explain why you were late
Yeah.
and whatever. But to Rob's point, in a district like ours, I would defer to Ken and Rob on like, do they wanna just see it, and if they can accommodate it, they will, or if not, they'll deny it, and then it could go through the process.
I think we just say, because we'll get that, the parent or guardian's gonna call us and
Yeah.
it couldn't make it, we just moved here.
Yeah.
We accept, and
Yeah.
most likely we're gonna say, well, you'll go within the list of
Yeah.
when they were received and.
So they might still get denied, but I don't think we have to
Right. So
skip
I'm
that
gonna-
process of the superintendent and the assistant superintendent taking a look at it.
so I'm gonna pull this out, and then my question is up above, where we say applications for voluntary transfer may be submitted beginning on February 1st through June 30th.
I would just leave it.
Now, do you add a sentence about late apps?
Or do we change the date from June 30th?
No, I would leave June 30th,
Okay.
because otherwise.
You need a deadline.
Yeah, we have to give the deadline, so if we
Okay.
make the deadline greater, then that's gonna come even
Okay.
later. We can say, we can either just leave it like that, or just say, late applications will be considered, but there's no guarantee that they'll be
Let's do
approved.
that. Late applications.
May be considered.
Because like in the
Maybe
sake of
considered.
transparency,
Yeah,
there
maybe
are
considered,
rule
but-
following humans, right? And so if there's nothing about a late app, they won't even submit it, and like, maybe we could have done something for their kid, you know, so I think like, But there's parents that always, you know, are bucking the deadlines, but then there's those other really rule
Right.
followy ones that you wanna say, it's okay, you can put it in late, it just might not happen.
Yeah,
So just late applications may be considered, or based on,
No, just late applications may be
May be
considered,
like based on
No
circumstances.
guarantee of approval. But there's no
but
guarantee.
there's no guarantee of
that-
approval
well,
for
there's no
anything.
guarantee.
no, hold
Right.
on, I'll get you the link, there's a
So-
way to say this. The internet will tell me.
Okay, so voluntary application. So I'm gonna move this down here to our section that we do not have on appeals, because that was kind of covering it, and we'll come back to that.
What about something about like late applications are accepted, however, approval and processing times are not guaranteed, or like approval and timeline is not guaranteed, so like you can apply late, but you might not hear back by August, you know, like we're not,
However.
like,
May be accepted, however, approval and processing times may not,
are not guaranteed.
are not guaranteed.
I think that just gives you the flexibility of like,
Yeah.
Okay.
you,
And it allows us to wait too, because
Yeah.
you could say September rolls around, like, oh, we can't accept it
yeah,
at that point.
Yeah.
Not that somebody
yeah, so like you
want.
might be able to say, you might say like, listen, I'm not gonna approve or deny this right now, but like, we'll let you know right before school starts if we can, you know, like, because they were late, and so that's, I think gives you some flexibility there.
Okay, so we're saying voluntary application, we'll take them starting on February 1 through June 30th. We'll take late ones, but we're not guaranteeing. We'll process them in the order they're received, and we will get back to you by the second week of August. Yes?
Yeah. Andrew, for me, processing standpoint,
Yep.
say this goes to the school committee, it gets approved in April, right?
Yep.
Because we're saying things like first come, first serve, and like whatever, like, does that clock start the day the policy gets approved?
Couldn't we put in this policy when it's going to start, right? You approve it, however, this policy
You know
does
what I
not.
mean?
Yeah, absent any kind of
bind
language,
until-
it would be in effect when
Yeah.
it is, when the policy actually
Yeah.
passes. But if you wanted to set, this policy will become, the timelines in this policy will become effective September, well, I mean, you can certainly delineate that.
Mm-hmm.
But do you already have these in, cause you're merging a couple of policies here, do we already have those timelines in?
There's no timeline.
Oh,
Okay,
there's
all right,
nothing,
fine.
there's nothing.
Which
No,
is
we're
why
adding,
we're doing
no, but
this.
what I was thinking, where my thought process was going with that is we are putting in language that says like, this is the order of operations of how the superintendent will decide if we have to displace students, right? And we're saying that if there's a tie if there's too many in number 2, it's gonna go by date of application received and time. What I'm saying is that's not fair to families that didn't know that like first come first serve was a thing,
Right,
because
right,
that we've
right,
never
right.
stated that before, and so I was thinking like you could say like that can't go
Concerts
into
and
effect
what
because we're
day?
past February 1st this year. You know what I mean?
You could, yeah, I mean, you can say that, or you could say it passes on, it's in effect upon passage, and send a blast out to the whole community so they know as of when it goes out, but it's really up to you guys.
Yeah, just something to think about
Yeah.
because like only because of that caveat.
Right, because there could
Yeah.
be 12 applications in already, and like,
Well, and people will be like, but I didn't know.
right.
I think it's best that these timelines and all do
Yeah.
not go into effect until after the
Yeah.
start of the new school year.
Everybody's on the same.
That's
Mhm.
all I'm saying. There's no concerns, we continue.
Or
what
you
we
could,
have.
or you could put in something to your point of like, everything goes into place, but like that first come first serve language is not applicable in year 1. Because the other pieces I think are good and like help with the transparency of the process. It's just that one piece about like not knowing to submit your application on February 1 at 12:01 like I do for rec camp energy.
Mhm.
So maybe we can think
Mhm.
about that. I don't think the whole thing should be nullified.
No, I agree, but
But I think that
anything
one
like
part
time sensitive like that,
needs to be
where the
there.
time that we're
Right, the
saying
timeline.
has
Yeah,
already
yeah.
passed.
Yeah, yeah, that's the only concern. The rest I'm fine with like
Mhm.
process implementation.
Especially things like notification by the second week of August.
Yeah,
all
like that
those
stuff's
things, yeah.
fine. It's just that one piece.
Okay, so now we're talking about approving voluntary transfers. We're saying approval maybe, but it's not required. Sufficient capacity. So Rob, you had said including language here that allows for superintendent discretion. So
Wait, just one little question. Andrew, for that first sentence language, approval may be, but is not required to be granted under the following conditions. Like, it's basically saying, like, this is how we'll do it, but we still might say no,
Yeah.
even if all these
Considered.
factors were there.
Yeah,
Under the following.
It's just a weird sentence.
yeah, I don't like that, yeah.
Maybe considered under the following conditions.
Make this better.
Approval is not guaranteed under the follower, that's a little negative.
Approval
Will be
may be
considered.
granted, but is not guaranteed
Yes,
under
something.
the following conditions.
Yeah, that sounds better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so my,
Are you
because the
changing
sentence
that
that
out?
says approval maybe, but is not guaranteed. Yeah, I guess it does. I guess yeah, I guess you're right. I guess it does. I was just looking to make sure that we have some kind of,
Wiggle room?
yeah, a little bit, just because, you know, it gets pretty granular with the A through whatever, I.
Like, did you wanna add a clause that said, or something not listed here, like?
Maybe.
This
Yeah.
is all fake, right, Jen? Not fake, but you pulled it from a different policy.
I
So
did,
we have
right.
full autonomy
Right,
to, like,
Add,
we're
take
trying
out,
to make transparent and outline more what the vibe is here for families. So
Right.
we have full edit on this.
Like,
we
yeah,
don't have to
so
leave
so
it like this.
my point is saying, and again, this can always be a different thing from year to year, but the superintendent has to consider a very broad
yes.
view of decision making when it comes to these things. And to me, there just should be, we should make sure there's room for discretion that plays into it.
Then I think we should add like a J that says,
Well, I would start with, do we need these?
well, here's
Yeah.
where I'm going, right? Like, I'm thinking of the types
Oh,
of
no, no, no.
these
I
that-
think we need something.
Yes.
I'm saying, do we need this many?
I don't know, I'm
And
just
do
thinking.
we need, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, and then G was confusing to me. We can get to that one later. That language, I don't know, wasn't jiving with me.
I also think C is repetitive,
Yes,
so I would remove that.
okay, go ahead, take that out.
Repetitive from what?
It was
Up
the
above.
it was the one that said you have to like do it every year, but like that's not. This is about like
When you're gonna be.
how you all are approving it, not
So
that
that's
they
in a
have to
different,
fill it
that's in a
out.
different.
It's already there. Yeah.
All right, yeah, it's true. Okay.
Why? You lost me on this one. Why don't we just do the same list as above? Like, wouldn't the superintendent or designee like kind of consider the same things? Like, because then now we're getting into like the sibling thing, and then like if it would, and then separating siblings would create a hardship. Approval would not require additional staff. You know what I mean?
I think this is saying like, if you've already voluntarily transferred out one sibling, you
Yeah,
could
that would go.
voluntarily transfer another sibling.
Are we looking at letter D?
C. It was D though. It was.
So
D.
what is
Yeah.
it? What are we?
So
not what's,
the way I'm interpreting that is that if I have 3 kids at the school and my second grader gets approved of the voluntary transfer to school B, my other kids automatically get to go there.
But that's
What
not
if
the
it's not
case.
room?
But they
Yeah.
Right.
yeah,
So I don't think.
Or like I think for me
That's the way,
the
I
way
would take that out.
the way I was reading that was like if that the preference piece, right? So there's 2 kids, there's 2 applications for voluntary transfer for 2nd grade. Kid A's sibling is already there in 4th grade. Kid B's doesn't have a sibling. Then Kid A would get preference. Like that's what I think it's trying to say.
but that's talking about, like, up above, it's talking about kicking kids out. Like, that's what
No, I know, but
yeah.
I'm still thinking that what we're
do
trying
we-
to say
what
here
do
is
we
the
want to
process.
say? Since this
Yeah.
isn't our policy,
Right,
it's not,
right.
like, what do we want it to say?
So
We're not
I-
gonna automatically just trans, what?
Just tell Jen what you want it to say.
I would take it out.
But what do you
I
want
don't
to say in
think-
general? Like, do you want
Well,
anything in here
I don't
about
think
the
we
thought
need to
process?
say anything about siblings for this, because it's a voluntary transfer, that's up to the families. If I call them, or it's usually not me calling them, but if we say, okay, you submitted for your 2 children, but we only have space for 1 in 1 grade level, do you want them moved or not moved?
think
Sometimes
that-
they say yes, sometimes they say no.
This is trying to protect the administration, though, I think, of like, when then someone challenges you and says, well, why'd you pick my neighbor's kid to go there and you didn't pick my kid? Like, I think
Yes.
that's what it's trying to outline, is like how that thought process, how that determination is made, and trying to be transparent about what you might prioritize or not prioritize in that decision making.
Because all
We
of
can
the
put
It's so
nothing.
hard to do though.
I know, but like I'm
It is,
thinking
but
of
it
situations where we have had
isn't.
parents come in, right, and like we have said no, like, you know, they're like, well, Johnny got pulled in, like you pulled in 3 kids out of my school, but you didn't pull in my kid, right? And like they don't know that this is the things that are being taken into consideration.
But they also don't know confidentially why we're making those decisions, and they have no right to know that.
And they
And I
don't,
don't,
but at
but what I'm
least
saying is I
this
think we're going
provides-
too far into this, and there needs to be a point where as administration, there's confidential information that we know about students and making those decisions that those families can't. I've been challenged on that.
Yep.
Well, why are you doing it? Well, because there's information that is only available to us as administrative staff because of confidential reasons that you don't have, and there's reasons why.
I
that we
think it
had to make
helps
that
though to
decision.
say like why you might approve a voluntary transfer.
That's why I was saying the list
That's what-
above is kind of applicable, because I agree with Ken, but also like as the person thinking about it's going to come to me and when they appeal it, like having to try to like support or whatever the decision was. Like the list that we did for the opposite reason, I think works for the other one, right? So the considerations that might be taken into account with voluntary transfers, that, you know, educational programs or services, like the sibling piece might come into consideration. And that, you know, like I feel like they're similar thought processes, but maybe not, I don't know.
I
No,
mean, go ahead, Rob.
No, it's okay.
Like maybe A and B at least, right? Like if I'm asking you to
Like, there
send my
has to be
kid to another
space.
school, there has to be space, right? And
Like,
if my student needs specific educational program that's not available, like you're not gonna send my kid there, right? So A and B. We could probably take out C, right?
Yep, I heard Ken say.
Yeah, C comes out. I think D, the way D is worded is not,
D's gone now, so
Appropriate
I
for
don't
this.
see D.
Which one's D on your paper?
well, I'm going by what's on the paper. So we're keeping A, we're keeping B.
Yep. I deleted other
C
stuff
came
too,
out from
so
voluntary,
just give me the first word.
notwithstanding, well,
Yeah.
no,
Okay.
it's the one about
The new E,
siblings.
yep.
Okay.
Notwithstanding, what were you saying about that one?
Notwithstanding all of the voluntary transfer requests, and it gets into all the reasons about keeping siblings together. Don't think we need that one there.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But I think that's maybe important to note that, so what this is saying, right, is that if my daughter is at one school because of educational programming and you all have put her there, right, and I'm saying, hey, like, can you put my son there too, because it's a pain in the ass to have 2 kids at different schools. This says yes, but you've gotta provide transportation for the son, is that, like, how does?
No, I'm in a different one, so which one are you
Okay,
reading?
well, how does that work then?
Notwithstanding all voluntary transfer
So
requirements. is
currently,
the one.
currently E, notwithstanding all other voluntary transfer requirements, permission may be approved for students whose siblings were placed at another school for special ed programs. Transportation for siblings is not, we do provide transportation.
Okay,
for
then
the
never
sibling.
mind, you can take that out, okay.
Yeah, I would take that out, we
Okay.
do, so if we have, a student, but, you know, student A is in a special ed program at school B,
And their
their
siblings
sibling-
going, we
Right.
transfer.
comes
Okay.
along
Then we
with that,
transport
we
Yeah.
provide
Okay.
transportation.
Okay, so are we taking that whole
I would
one
take that
out?
out.
Yep,
Okay. Goodbye, E.
For voluntary transfers, what if we?
I mean, Andrew, I guess the biggest question is like from a like legal standpoint, if they say if a voluntary transfer got denied,
Yeah.
like is because the superintendent said so good enough?
It certainly would be at this level, and presumably at the school committee level, and then if you get to ride, it would
Yeah.
just be a different story.
What kind of thing would they look for though? You know what I mean?
Arbitrary and capricious, basically, as long as the superintendent had some rational basis for what they did, they'll usually uphold it.
Yeah, so they say there
Yeah,
wasn't enough
discriminatory
room,
and just
whatever.
completely,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
off the cuff decision,
Yeah,
but
so
other
we
than
don't have
that,
to be
other than that, they'll always
like
defer
there's a
to the
balance
superintendent.
between like I try to be transparent, but also like there are so many factors to Ken's point, like you can't quite it's not a checklist, right? So
For the new C there, are we talking about this being a mid-year type of thing?
That's what I'm reading it.
mhm.
That's the way I'm reading it too. Is that
So,
So
we're at cap, it's December. and we're at cap in
Yep.
first grade. A family moves in. They have a child that needs to go to that school in first grade. The way, what this is saying is that the child that is in that first grade classroom that doesn't belong, that is supposed to be going to another school, that got voluntarily transferred in, actually moves
Would
now.
move back to their zone school.
Is that what happens?
Yeah.
What happens?
If someone moves in, we just say, we're full, we have to put you at another location.
Okay, so that can come out.
So
We need to say that somewhere though.
Yeah, absolutely.
we,
I think
I
we
thought
say
it
that in
was-
the other policy.
So if we're full, we're full. We don't take a student that was voluntarily transferred in out mid-year.
Mid-year,
The new
yeah.
family that
I
moves
think
in,
we say
for
that.
the remainder of that year, they go to another school.
Do they switch the following year?
Yes. If they, so, yes, we let them know, because every year we put all the kids back in their home schools to start the projections and registrations.
Yep.
Sometimes we then get a request, so then that becomes, they put a request in.
Yep.
to
The only
stay there, 'cause
difference
once
in
they're
that
there, somebody
scenario
just
is the
wants to stay.
voluntary transfer doesn't get bumped mid-year.
Right.
They have a
right.
guarantee of 1 year,
Right, we
basically.
can disrupt them in the middle of the year.
Yeah. Which is valid.
Yeah. it's
Yeah.
fair.
Like that.
I mean, they started,
Yeah.
we're not gonna,
so in other words, we can take that language out too?
yes.
Yeah.
That would come on as well.
But I do think. Yeah, that we have to edit that other thing, and the one that's not on here.
Wait, did we just take out the wrong
You,
language?
I don't know. You told me to take it out.
No, you took out the wrong one.
Which one?
We were talking about the one above it.
Oh, for C.
Yeah. That's what we were just talking about.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So reassign.
That goes along with that, so that one goes too. Right.
Yeah, I gotta be
Yeah,
honest, this
I would
language
take
just
G
didn't,
out.
I was like not, I was struggling with this one.
Just get rid of G.
It's thick.
Yeah.
Good.
So
That
we
one goes
do
along
need
with
to
it.
add something though in here about that because it's not listed anywhere else. Like, so we need to say, like, if you come in
Mid-year.
mid-year,
Even if they're voluntary transfers, you're not going to your school if there's no room.
yeah.
Yeah, we just have to, we'll amend that other one.
No, I think it lives
I
here.
think it lives here.
Yeah, I think it lives here.
But that's
Wait,
about.
but
Yeah, but
if
this is
you're,
about
that's not a
voluntary
voluntary
transfers.
transfer though, you
No,
need,
I think that would be an involuntary
Yeah.
transfer. Yeah, we
Mhm.
need to add it there. Because that involuntary transfer thing kind of currently only talks about, like, at the beginning of the school year, the review. It doesn't talk about, like,
If you come in.
If you
we don't have
come
any,
in-
we don't have any language in there about involuntary transfers mid-year?
no, it
Says
only
school-
talks about relieving overcrowding at the beginning of the year, I think.
The
There's a-
difference is, we just need an asterisk, Jen, on the 1, 2, 3, 4, because that, or something, because it basically says like students enrolled by voluntary transfer, but then it just needs to say like,
Where are we now?
Oh, no,
We're
I
back
mean, it
under,
does say it
um,
in number
under
3,
voluntary
right? Incoming
transfers.
new students enrolling, it doesn't say, it kind of just assumes that it's the beginning of the year. I mean, we should say something.
no, but then
like-
number 4 says students enrolled by voluntary transfer, and that's the difference.
Right.
It's that you come in, there's a student in your seat that was a voluntary transfer, it's
This says the
October.
ki- right, this says the kid.
This said the kid with voluntary transfer is out.
Right.
That's not not
Right.
the case.
So
we just need to
an
add a
asterisk
sentence.
there that if it's a mid-year enrollment, right, Ken, cause that's what you're
Mhm.
saying.
Yeah.
yes.
When we say
I would just
NK,
say,
I'm sorry to do this, but when we say NKSD initiated transfers, that's involuntary transfers, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a reason we don't call them involuntary transfers?
Well,
isn't it under the heading? We're in the NKS.
No.
Oh.
We should put involuntary transfers there, under where B is.
instead of or
Instead
in
of
addition to?
initiated.
Yeah, because we call them involuntary transfers, we could say involuntary transfers initiated by the North Kingstown School Department, if we want to.
Like
Right.
the only thing is, like, do you wanna call the instructional program moves involuntary transfers? Like, that sounds kind of like,
Let's Google the word involuntary.
True.
What does involuntary mean? I'm not joking.
But again, I don't want to relitigate this, but like I think that instructional program transfers are like, we're talking about rarest of the rare circumstances. You know what I mean? Like it's hard for me to even envision a circumstance where that's gonna happen.
so how about we just say NKSD
It's almost
initiated
multiple.
transfers, instructional
Yeah.
programming, and
Rob
then
can't do
involuntary transfers under
Under-
Yeah,
relieving.
you know those are
You change that,
Do that.
right? So we'll call this.
Just in case anyone's curious, involuntary means against one's will.
That's
Just
why I
to
don't like
clarify.
that for the instructional programming, cause that does not
Apply.
apply. So I'm gonna change relieving overcrowding to involuntary transfers.
Yeah, but didn't we say for that instructional programming one that it was like when the families disagree?
Well, that was my point, because my point with the instructional program was like, I'm imagining a situation, let's
Yeah.
just hypothetically say it. Student A and student B have a real problem getting along,
Yeah.
or something,
Yeah, and
right?
you say, you know what, it's better if you go to the other middle school, bye bye.
Right, and again, we hope this doesn't happen,
Yeah.
but in the event it does, the hope would be that there is a conversation at the building level where there's agreement that takes
Where we
place,
can
and so it's
get
not
to involuntary.
involuntary, it's actually agreed upon.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is it reaches a point where it's like,
You don't have a choice.
situations are at odds where like you must leave, I don't
Yeah.
want, you know what I mean?
That's involuntary. It's against
It
the will.
isn't, it is involuntary, but there's gonna have to be a significant amount of work leading up to
Yeah,
that.
I don't think that, I think from a policy standpoint though, you leave it under involuntary because when push comes to shove, after all those remedies of trying to get it to be voluntary, if we get to a place where it is still happening, then it's basically switching to involuntary. Your goal would be to have that situation be voluntary where you come to a
Right.
mutual agreement, but I think you still need the language to protect if it does happen,
I agree.
so I think you leave it,
So just leave it as
Even though it's
instructional
rare.
program.
yeah,
So, okay, what am I doing?
leaving it. We
It
talked
needs to
it
stay,
through.
instructional programs needs to stay there.
It can stay as involuntary, because to Rob's point, it could be voluntary, right? But,
But I
So
guess
am I
another
changing
thing
the
is.
header to involuntary?
No. I guess what I'm saying is like, to me, the potential language that's not lining up is just instructional program, cause I can see a situation where that arises being less about an instructional program and more about just a disagreement perhaps over placement of a child, you know,
How
based
about if
on.
I do this, I make B say involuntary transfer, involuntary, what are we saying, involuntary transfers?
Yep.
And then I make the first bucket be NKSD initiated transfers, and then the second one say relieving overcrowding.
yeah, but what Rob is saying is that there could be another reason other than instructional programming.
That's
No,
why
that's
she's
why
changing it, though.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
instructional programming out and
Yeah.
call that first one
Yep.
NKSD
NKSD
initiated
initiated
transfer.
transfer.
Yeah, we need to add more language though, because it references instructional programming
Yes.
throughout the language. But yeah, that's fine.
What should I add, Rob?
Okay, so students may be reassigned to a school other than their
Or
original
other-
school of
or
assignment
other
for the purpose
reasons.
of providing students with a more appropriate educational setting.
Right,
Yeah.
can you
I
add
got it,
that?
Sure.
I got it.
Okay, and why did we come back up here in the first place? I can't remember
It's
because we
Rob's
didn't come
It's
up
my
here for
fault.
that.
What did you used a good word
That's
though.
relitigated, I think.
Relitigate, yeah, re-jit something, no, it was because they were talking about using the word involuntary versus voluntary, and then it was a slippery slope in Rob's brain. But you're not wrong, so here we are, that's why we're,
Oh, we were talking about the asterisk with the 3 and the 4 and who
Oh,
gets
yeah.
the, right? And so what did we say? We were gonna
Wait,
add
I
an
got lost,
asterisk
hold
and
on.
say this does not apply if in the event of
No.
a mid-year
so I was gonna
enrollment,
write,
right? So I'm gonna put an
Yep.
asterisk after number 3.
here, I'm typing, hold on,
Okay.
the above.
Is there change in educational programming when students reassigned to, or change in educational, I guess it might be programming, right?
What do you think?
I don't know.
Or something like that.
The first sentence that
But I think
captures
it
what
only
we were
applies to
talking
number
about,
3
so.
and number 4, right?
I mean,
Does it apply to the whole thing? Like,
it could,
Ken, like, would new students entering the district after the start of the school year basically be number 5?
Hold on, I'm trying to look for it. Just
I've
jump
seen-
policies.
I've seen new students come in
So-
mid-year and get split up, like one sibling's at one school and one's at a different school.
Okay.
So that to me sounds like yes, they are number 5.
I would- I would keep it separate.
In
Right.
order to
Meaning
continue
I'd add another line
education,
to
you're
that.
gonna, you know,
Right.
gotta do a
Do you want a number
separation.
5 or do you want it to be
And/or
an
do you
asterisk?
wanna
is the
say-
You
question.
can switch that,
No,
yeah,
I-
that's
I would-
what I'm trying to grab, it's not
Because I
necessarily a
wrote it in
program
below.
thing.
Due to a change in educational,
See it?
and/or, individual need?
That's fine, yeah, yep.
there something that should be in here?
So
though,
number 3
where-
doesn't apply.
Is there something that should be?
Well,
in
basically
there
it's saying like
This being
that, like this, the
superintendent.
1, 2, 3, 4 says that involuntary transfers
Or doesn't
are
it?
last.
Mhm.
But if somebody comes in
Yeah,
mid-season,
you
they're
would-
not
I mean,
last,
that
they
can say
stay
it
in the
is, yeah, you
and the
would
new
have
person
principal.
goes to a different school.
Mhm.
So we're trying to just say that clearly, and so
Some
my
others.
attempt was that asterisk language right
Any
here,
involuntary transfer, right?
where I just highlighted it. But Jen was proposing that that be number 5. New students, like, entering the district mid-year
Yeah.
would be like number 5, is what Jen's proposing.
Maybe we just say new students enrolling after the start of the year are assigned
Should
to
start the sentence.
Fire for brave space.
schools based on,
We just basically need to say we're not bumping a voluntary transfer. That's what we're trying
Yes.
to say. And I don't
and
know
I
how
think
to
we need
legally
to spell
say it.
that out.
Cause like if I was a new, if you were wanted to be really persnickety, you could move in and be like, hey, like, I know that there's kids that are not districted for the second
Exactly.
grade, why do I have to go somewhere else when they're at
Right.
this school, like,
Yeah,
that's.
I think we need to be clear about that.
Yeah,
If we're not
fine,
moving
but-
them, I think we need to be clear about that.
When does this meeting begin? 6?
I gotta leave, by the way, I gotta leave a little early.
Okay,
Is that alright?
yeah, thank you.
Alright, sorry, I don't mean to hop
Yeah,
up.
no, that's fine.
Okay.
Just throw us all into turmoil and then you leave.
I know,
Nice.
I'm
Alright.
sorry.
Well, I'm going, I'm just reading the paragraph. See if we can add something here.
I get it.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Rob. That's good. I'll get the camera at the end.
What's that?
Camera at the end.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
Alright.
Ken, are you thinking?
Yeah, I am. Just give me one more minute. Look and see if we can add something in the paragraph. Look in the paragraph about relieving overcrowding.
What's that?
I'm looking to see if we can add a sentence in the paragraph about relieving overcrowding, about voluntary transfers.
You can also write like, something like that. Students entering the
Yes.
school district will not displace current assignments and will be involuntary transferred if their grade level is over
Yeah, I think
capacity.
that's good.
So not that other part that I wrote.
Yep. Enter the district mid-year.
Yep, after the start of after the start of
After-
school, not mid-year, it's literally
Yeah.
second day of school, you're not
After the
displacing someone.
start of the school year. Not current assignments, current student placements?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Is that
good.
okay?
Yes,
That sentence
it
is
is.
good?
Okay, so we are, okay, so going back to approval requirements, we said sufficient capacity must exist, an appropriate instructional program must be available. Is this true, Ken? Voluntary permission is contingent upon the student being in compliance with school rules and regulations and may be rescinded? Is that true? False?
Which number? Sorry, I'm gonna.
She's on
H.
3H on page 4. I don't think that is in this section.
Under approval requirements?
Yeah.
I get, not to be approved, yes, but is it a valid statement? Is that something we wanna say somewhere?
Andrew, is that saying like, if you have conduct issues,
That's,
I
that's
it
the
could be
way, that's the way
rescinded?
I read it.
Yeah, I don't know if that sounds.
But
like
this is
we
about
get to-
approval for voluntary
I
transfers.
know,
Yeah,
but
I
I'm
think we
asking,
just
like,
take
is
it
that
out.
So,
something?
but here's the question, so I guess, I bet why this is in here from a different schools policy is that when if, say, middle school student is at one middle school and they wanna go to the other middle school, like kind of to Rob's point about that behavior and like, like, you know, like, is that taken into consideration?
That's
Like,
the way
if
I
the
read
principal
it.
says, oh gee, like, I think this student should stay, or oh gee, I think this student should leave, that is taking into consideration.
I mean, not to be
Like
harsh, but
school
you've done
rules
them a
and
favor to
regulations.
accommodate either the family or the student need or whatever it is, and if the student's not responding correctly and disrupting that school,
Yeah.
they just have to go back to their original school.
Yeah, like this is like mid, like say you approved 1 year,
But that would
you're in
be,
the second.
that wouldn't be
second year
for the,
application.
well, right, I'm just saying that
I don't
H
think it
would not
belongs in
apply.
this section, but I'm asking, is this a clause
I,
that
I
we
would,
want to
I would say
have?
we have that somewhere, it doesn't apply
Yeah.
for their first year.
Yeah, but this is approvals every year. This isn't just for
So
their
then-
first year. This section.
So but I think
Yeah.
H needs to be
Somewhere else.
specified that it is for your future approvals.
Voluntary.
Or, I
It could be
mean,
their first year approvals.
it could be, I mean, if something's
I
happening.
would just leave it. We could maybe make the words better. Like, you know, like the sentences kind of.
I mean, because in theory,
Because the other
right,
thing
like,
too that we
let's say-
consider is attendance, right?
Yep.
So if you're going from one school to another, and depending on the start times, right, if there's attendance issues,
Mhm.
then we take that into consideration the next year. And if the child is not, because a voluntary transfer, they're also being transferred by their parent or guardian.
Mhm.
So if they're coming late every day, or they're not attending, we take that into consideration for the following year, and we'll deny them.
So that's
the-
a school rule, so I do think
Mhm.
that that's
Hold on,
valid.
this is the language that the internet
And
just
I think we
proposed.
would add something in there about attendance.
With school rules and regulations,
Yes.
including attendance?
Yeah.
Jen, look at what I wrote down on the, where I just highlighted in blue. Permission for voluntary transfer is contingent upon the student's compliance with school rules and regulations and may be revoked if compliance is not maintained.
Okay, school rules and I'm just gonna add including attendance.
Yep. But also,
Also, what,
nothing, like there's two different parts of that sentence. And could.
and. What just happened?
Chaz, you're gonna
Bunch
beat
of
that
things
one out.
disappeared. She took my hands right away from the keyboard.
Which is.
You're gonna have to let Chaz know he's gonna have to beep out your tape at 5:47.
What just happened? There we go. Let's
Just
see.
hit undo.
I just did. Okay, there it is. What about identifying and evaluating all other ramifications of attending a school by voluntary transfer is the responsibility of the parent, adult student, or legal guardian prior to submitting a request?
It's pretty open-ended because what are all the other ramifications?
Well, and that
I
one,
just-
that one to me doesn't, I don't mind that one in the document somewhere, but like,
Maybe it
this is
goes
not,
in
I
that
don't think it
section,
needs to
though.
be in this checklist.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, that could be like a thing underneath it or where the application is,
I'll put,
maybe,
I'll
but.
put under other considerations.
Yeah.
Okay, so for a,
What else, Ken, do you, when you're looking at a voluntary transfer form, things that like, you mentioned attendance, which I think is a really good point.
Attendance,
Are
which
there?
we added in there.
Yeah, but I was trying to think, like,
Yeah,
are there
I'm not-
other things in your brain when you're considering these that maybe we haven't documented in paper that you consider that we wouldn't know about? Start time.
No, I mean, the attendance is the big one. The
Yep, I think that's valid.
Attendance, what time they arrive at school. That's probably the, one that I hear the most from principals.
okay. Okay, so then the other thing that is in here is, and these are from our existing policy, are in, it says in county, but we should probably change that to in town,
Yeah.
in town, I'm guessing.
Yep.
So these are a student who changes residence within North Kingstown after the first day of school may upon request complete that school year in the school in which the student was originally enrolled, provided that the parent, adult student, or legal guardian provides transportation to and from school. That's from a Rhode Island state reg, so that's pretty straightforward. A student who's a junior at the time of changing residence may, upon request of the parent or guardian, continue to attend the school in which he or she was enrolled. provided that's also a state reg, but we are gonna add,
And just to be clear, it's not, it's, I think someone put that it's not a junior, it's, like about to graduate. I can get you the exact
Okay.
statutory language.
a student as a senior or has completed the junior year. Okay.
Correct, yep.
Fixed language, okay.
So it's just not the fact that they're a
Kinda
junior, they have to have
disruptive
completed it or be
in
in
the
the summer.
comments, like a long list of random things the internet said
Um,
that people
but
consider
we are
voluntary transfers
adding-
to see if there's any others that you might wanna pull out. These are like the comments.
We are at, somebody had put that a voluntary transfer request will be required for the student to attend the school their senior year. So even though it's a state reg, we wanna make sure that they put the voluntary request in, is that correct?
We only have one high school.
Oh yeah, that's dumb.
Yeah,
So we don't need that.
no. Other places do, but we
Yeah.
do not.
Okay, we're gonna take this out. Okay, so those are the things that cover the in-town residence changes. So.
Wait, did you leave that junior stuff in?
I'm trying to
Oh,
fix
but
it.
do we need it?
I would just change it to
I'm
mirror
gonna
the
change it to
statute.
max.
We only
Yeah.
have one high school. There's no changing at that point. No juniors are going
Oh,
anywhere.
yeah, that's true.
So we don't need that. Even
They're,
if,
they're staying in
yeah.
town, they're going from one neighborhood to another neighborhood.
yeah, we only have one
We're
high
not-
school.
we're
So it's
not-
not like they're going from Cranston
Yeah.
East to Cranston
Yep,
West.
right, yep,
Like we're
gotcha.
just all in the high school. So I don't think we need that
Sorry,
language
yep.
because we don't have that situation ever.
But did this,
Oh, is this
It
talking about
doesn't-
you moved to Cranston and you get to
Yes,
stay?
yes.
Never mind.
yeah,
I know
I thought we
that's
were
that
talking-
statute.
but I
This
thought
is
we were
in-town
talking about-
residence changes,
Right,
right?
we're talking about in town now.
Yep.
This
Yeah,
would be,
that would be different.
So out of town resident changes.
Yeah, which
Juniors
is
get-
really what
the
you get to
statute
finish your
says.
senior year.
but
Yep.
the state statute says if you change,
The state statute only applies to our town when they leave.
Yeah, when
North
changes his or
Kingston.
her residence.
Yeah.
So basically, it would be I'm moving from North Kingston to South Kingston, but if I'm
I get to stay
going
my-
into my
my
senior year, I get to
Right,
stay in.
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
so do we need them to, we don't need to do a voluntary transfer request because they get to stay, okay?
No, they need to fill out the.
Well, it wouldn't matter at the high school level.
Yeah, but if you're living in SK.
Oh, are you back to not in town?
No, we're back to like I'm a junior and I want to.
In town doesn't matter.
In
That
town
should
doesn't
not be
matter,
under
'cause you only get
in-town
the one high
residence
school,
change.
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
We should get rid of that
Okay.
under in-town residence change, but we probably should have something for
Like,
out
how
of
does that
town.
work?
Yep.
Huh?
How does that work? Like if that statute is being put into use?
So basically, it will,
The parents just notify of address change?
Yeah.
if it happens, but yeah, I mean, that essentially
We
what would
usually
happen is
find out.
parents
If they
would.
don't tell us, we usually find out later.
Yeah, parents usually come notify you, and then you
Yeah.
say you can stay through the semester if you're, and then, I think the RIDE decisions basically say, as long as you've completed your junior year and started like the
Yeah.
summer before senior, they'll consider that, and let you stay in NK if you wanted to, even if you move to SK, you can stay there for your senior
Mhm.
year.
I'm gonna change this to say residence changes instead
Yeah.
of in town because it
Yeah.
covers the two.
Yeah, that's fine.
So other considerations, voluntary transfer requests previously granted per this policy must be renewed annually, beginning April 1st through June 30th. Why do I feel like we
You
had
already
a
said that somewhere.
different date? But we had a different date.
Yeah, February.
February 1st.
Why are we saying that again though?
I don't know.
I would get rid of it. I hate stuff in two
Okay.
spots. Like we
Um,
said that, right? You had to
Yeah, it's
submit the
already-
form every
Yep.
single year.
Okay.
Yeah.
All reassignments and transfers under this policy shall be done in a non-discriminatory manner per NKSD policy. Any student assignment or transfer that is a result of disciplinary or safety considerations or that is pursuant to a court order requires notification to the superintendent, a meeting among the staff of the students, IEP, blah, 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 identifying and evaluating all other ramifications of attending school by voluntary transfer of the responsibility of the parent, student, guardian prior to submitting a request.
That's different. That was the one that you like.
Oh, yeah.
Those aren't
this is
friends.
on there. Yeah, okay.
It's not wrong, but like it's
Yeah, it's
not.
not
It
part of
doesn't
that,
go with
yeah.
that little section.
Andrew, what about, 3, is that,
The only thing I would say there is 3, it may require. I mean, I understand that if there's a disciplinary something you obviously want, but I don't think every single move would require
I think
local
that-
law enforcement, the court services.
No,
and
I
the-
feel like that should be under. That to me says that this part says to me something happened in the community and there's a restraining order, right? You cannot be near X human, whatever. And this is when like the NK police is notifying Ken that like, you know, any notification superintendent, like it
But it could
sounds
also
like.
be a civil, it could be a civil restraint. That's why I'm just saying
Yeah.
may. I mean, I agree with you. If
Yeah.
the police are involved, then you definitely want them at the meeting. But if it's a civil issue, you may not need
Yeah.
the police at the meeting. I think it's just depending on the circumstances. That's why I would just say may.
Yeah.
I think whoever the players are would obviously need to be there.
Yep. Well, that's not what it that's not what it says though. Any student's assignment or transfer that is the result of disciplinary or safety considerations or that is pursuant to a court order may require notification to the superintendent, a meeting among staff.
Yeah,
It's basically saying like if it's because of disciplinary or safety, like,
Or a court order, you
Yeah.
have to get the right people together to have the conversation.
Yeah.
And that's the way I read it, which I think is accurate.
Right, and there probably was a situation at wherever this policy
Yeah.
came from, where
Yeah.
they weren't doing
Yeah.
that, so then they had to put it in writing.
Yeah.
Without question.
So do
Yes.
we
Have
need
questions.
this? Do we want
Should be,
this?
this
Yeah,
is
no,
something
we
I
should-
think,
Okay.
that wouldn't go just under involuntary transfers though?
I mean,
For
certainly,
voluntary
certainly could,
transfers?
what we other consider, I mean, it could go either way.
Alright, we'll just leave it.
I mean, because that might not be, it's not really involuntary
Right.
transfers as
I was gonna say,
us,
it may
this
not
could
apply.
actually be a court or somebody else, to your point.
Still against their will.
Yes, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
it's not the same involuntary, but it's still involuntary.
I would leave it under the.
Yeah, other-
just.
yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't happen that
Yeah.
often.
I mean, in
anymore,
theory,
so.
it could be as a result of a voluntary transfer too, where somebody's saying, I want out because of blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah.
alright, we'll just leave it
Yeah.
under other considerations. Under appeals, I was nervous about the timeline, but I didn't know if that was by statute.
No, I think it was just like, within 5 days of receiving notice that a request was denied. I think that was just a
Yeah,
number.
so can they only, does it have to be within 5 days? So like, you put in for voluntary transfer, but that's what the link, that's
Yeah,
what it's.
that's fine, that's per your policy. There's no statute that
Yeah,
says you
this
have
is
to.
new though, we're writing
Yep.
this, so
Yeah,
like,
you can,
within 5 days of getting a notice, they may request a hearing on the request by the school committee.
Do we wanna do no later than such a time?
I mean, before school starts. Like,
Okay, so no later than.
I mean, in theory, they could ask for a hearing at any point.
yeah, I mean,
Whether-
I, just for what it's worth, I like the 5 days or something like that, because a lot of dominoes can happen after that fact, so you don't want someone to sort of sit on their rights for 2 weeks while Kenny's now set up another classroom and
Yeah.
another classroom, and other parents have been notified, and then
think
all of a
you should
sudden
make it
someone
quick,
comes
because
forward.
if we're saying that we're gonna notify that, make notifications by the end of the
The
first
end
of
of the
August,
end of the
or
second
end
week
of
of
the second
August,
week
yeah,
of August,
first and
depending on what
second,
it
yeah.
is.
Yeah, so now he's made
And
all those
now
notifications,
they
and
come
all
to
of a
us
sudden.
September 2nd
Yep.
to appeal, and
I
I
think
think the
within
timeline
5
of
days
5
of
days is
receiving a
appropriate.
notice in that timeline is reasonable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Should we say 5 business days, just to be clear?
I would. Yeah, I would specify the days.
And so
5
at the
days.
hearing.
I don't, and this is gonna sound silly, like, the best interest of the child, like, obviously we make decisions on the best interest of the child, but like, sometimes the decision can't be the decision, right? So
Right.
like,
If we have
if the class is
contracts, we
full,
follow them.
Yeah,
and like, we are above, like,
I agree.
we can't make the decision that's in the best interest of the child, even if it is like
I know.
socially and emotionally the right place, so I don't love that language. Even though we try our best always,
So how do, I agree with you.
just get rid of it.
Yeah, because I mean, you have down with, instruction, health, and safety of pupils there enrolled, so I think that
Yeah.
encapsulates part of that.
Yeah, like,
Okay. Telefax. Should the school, to a school, I'm gonna take out elementary school, to a school, goes over capacity. Is this true, the student will be placed on the waiting list to attend the approved school space becomes available, does that happen, Ken?
yes.
Yes, we keep them
Okay.
there.
And the school committee's decision, so should I take that out? Okay. Okay, boop. And then I had added something in here about the school committee will provide with a report on a annual basis.
Yeah.
Annual basis of how many students are enrolled outside of their school of assignment by exception basis. Is that reasonable, Ken?
Mm-hmm.
Do we want biannual or annual?
I would do annual.
Annual.
So I think it's annual, but I think I would want it by a certain date. Like you want, like, you know, like if you say annual, they could give it to you on June 30th of
Yeah.
that school year. And I feel like the reason that you would want it is for budget
Budget, I was just
discussions,
gonna
and
say,
so
yeah.
I would say by like November, because that would kind of let like, you know, you get through the first two months of the school year, and then like you'd get it in November, and you'd have it for budget season to kind of understand the assignment.
Okay, so I just added
Okay,
by
does that
November
seem-
1st of each year.
Does that sound reasonable?
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by exception status?
Anybody who's not in their home school.
I'm getting a report that
Okay.
basically says this many students applied for voluntary, this many are involuntary.
Okay. Are we okay moving this forward with everything that we discussed today?
Instead of saying exception status, can we just say that the report will be of how many voluntary and involuntary students?
So.
I'm thinking that way we just
Mhm.
know what we're reporting.
Yeah. On how many students are enrolled outside their school of assignment by.
Either.
By either.
Voluntary or involuntary status.
Voluntary or involuntary status
Mhm.
by November 1st of each year. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm fine moving it forward
Okay,
then.
I'll make
Yeah,
a
no,
motion
good.
to move this forward. Can I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, awesome. So our next meeting is, when is the next meeting? Our next meeting is never? Why don't I have it on my calendar?
Jen, just one quick question, I know we're at time. Does JFAB need to go up like at the same time, or can that go up separate? Cause you combined JCA,
Yeah.
JCAR, and JCAC, but then we still have AA and AB.
and AB are together, so we
Yeah,
have to review.
so we can hit those
Those are separate,
next time.
yes.
But they're not like, it's okay to bring these ones
They're not
up,
intertwined,
alright,
but they're
that
friends,
makes
like
sense.
they all relate together,
Yeah.
but they don't
Those
have
two
to
can
work
go.
together.
And I only had
Yeah.
one change to that admission of students policy.
Is that it?
Yeah.
We could, if you
Do you wanna
don't
look at
mind
it?
5 more
Yeah.
minutes, we
No,
can
I
do
don't
that,
mind.
yeah.
I mean, it was just one thing I put in there that I
Yeah,
think
let's
it
just
just
look
goes to
quick.
another policy.
Because that, I feel like it's better for the school committee to
Because I
look at
copied it
them.
off of,
What was the one change?
so. when you
Change
do-
to children, that's it?
No. Well, okay, I'm sorry. So there's that too, but I just wasn't. I was just reading it. I was like, I probably should say like children,
Yeah.
not students, because it was talking about families. No, down the one that's a little more substance.
Siblings,
At the
okay.
very end, bottom of page 2, where we have siblings of existing students are not given any preference. I copied the language out of the policy where we're saying we are
Okay,
giving
perfect,
preference.
okay.
So it says siblings of existing students will be provided preference to students without siblings when placement in a grade level at the capacity for student enrollment based on any NK contract
Wait,
is
okay.
at capacity. In a
Yes,
grade
the
level
Siblings of
is
existing
at
students will be
Mhm.
provided preference
capacity.
over students without siblings? Over, not two students, over students without siblings when placement in a grade level is at capacity. Not two students, over, right? That's what you're saying? Like,
He's saying that they'll get it.
yeah,
That-
so it's
that-
not two students, it's over students.
Yes, now I'm trying to go back to, yes,
Okay, and that's
Preference
consistent
over
with the
students.
with the language in the other
Mhm.
policy?
Yep.
Okay.
yes. And then
Okay.
siblings are defined as children who reside in the same household with a common.
Yep, and that's the language from the other
Yes.
thing. Okay,
That was
perfect.
it. Otherwise, I think that was good to go.
Okay, easy. I'll make a motion to move this one up as well then.
I'll second that motion.
Which one's missing then? Just B?
No, these are
Or
combined.
you combine them?
Yeah,
Alright, great.
okay.
Alright.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, perfect. So our next meeting,
Do we have one?
I We do, I don't know why it's, let me look at my other calendar, I don't know why I don't have it in mine, hang on.
Do you want me to go grab the list?
No, I have
No,
it on
I-
it's on the website. Somewhere. School committee.
Not until the
advisory
28th. Why
committees.
is that? That's the next one I have on my calendar is the 28th.
April break,
That's why, April break.
The 28th,
yeah.
That's
So,
the next one I have on my calendar.
Friday?
Friday the 28th.
April 28th, people,
Monday
April.
the
Oh.
28th, yeah,
April.
April.
Long time away from now.
yeah.
Yeah, that is
Oh,
really
look
weird
at
for
that, I do have that on there.
Yeah, and maybe that, I probably have it on my other calendar, but I didn't go that far.
How did
So,
you miss the 31st?
there's a
Is there something
reason.
else happening?
Ken maybe had something?
Yeah, there is a reason.
Okay.
I mean, there's definitely a reason.
It's gonna bug you, isn't
It
it?
is gonna bug me.
Yeah. You gonna go back and watch the tape?
I think we had it, and it's definitely Ken's fault, but I don't remember why.
That's not necessarily true.
So-
It's not my fault though, 'cause I
I
don't
have
have it on my
nothing.
calendar.
Can you do it?
I'm just gonna double check, but
Let's add it if you can do it.
I just think a month and a half
Oh,
is
I
a little
agree
bit,
completely.
a little bit long. But I know we can't move up that April one because it'll hit, when, like if you were going a month, it would
Yeah.
hit.
yeah, I'm not sure why March 31st.
Okay, let's plan on the
because
31st.
I'm
I'll
just,
send the
4:30.
calendar.
I just wanna make sure there's nothing else, I just wanna pull this up just to look, there's nothing. No, and there's no other meetings in the district, I mean,
Yeah.
there's,
Okay,
Let's do
I'll
that.
send the
And can
calendar
you get
right
it
up tonight,
changed
yep.
on the thing?
yeah.
yep, 3:30.
Um,
Okay, awesome.
The other thing, when we set the calendars in the future, we should try to set them on off school committee weeks, so that like the policy
Yes.
committee can meet and then
Yes.
So,
people don't get it posted the next
Yes.
day kind of energy. So that's just a long-term
I
thing.
agree.
I think we need to look at all the other committees too, just
I think it's
because
a
it's a
day.
lot of overlap, sometimes of trying to even schedule them. Or trying to find a day that we can schedule
Yeah.
them.
For this one, it's tough because
So-
like if we meet today,
Right, then you can't really get it. for
well, it's not
tomorrow.
fair to the system. Like it's you can get it on for tomorrow if you
Yeah.
pre-put it on, but like that's not the intent. The intent
And
is
these
to
also
give
even
people
too,
time to
trying to
look
get
at it.
everything in and attached to.
Yeah.
I know.
I'll get these up for tomorrow immediately.
Yeah, no, I will go home and get these over to Jules tonight.
Stephanie.
Stephanie.
Stephanie, that's right. Well, Jules likes to see the policies too because she.
She wants to make sure that.
I know, so.
You can CC
Okay.
both of them.
I will
Okay.
make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Okay.
Okay.
See you all tomorrow.
I'll get it.
Hey.
Everybody get a thank you.
You guys made it.
I always feel like you should get a sticker. Maybe past midnight, get two.
Penny, we'll talk tomorrow?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Andrew.